And no, I did not forget about this video series. Let's continue with the strange weapons of Lone Wolf and Cub. We've made it to our 5th installment, and what is it this time? Well, in a dynamic we've already seen, our hero walks amongst the battle-scarred town and finds only women. Is he dumb enough to not realize this is a trap? No, probably not. But you can see the setup. There's an innocent-looking old lady on the right, another woman busy cleaning or something on the left, and one dead ahead, and dead is what they want him to end up being. The one on the right, the old lady, is the one we are interested in. We see her leaning on her walking stick, but no, it's not just a walking stick. It's the Japanese cane sword or sword stick, the shikumiza. They are getting ready to spring the trap, and our hero goes right for the old lady, so no, he was not fooled, not one bit. Looks like she has taken a serious slash. Ogami Itto, of course, has another woman to contend with, so some follow-up action happens that is really out of scope for us, but just to show how wild things get. You see that attempt to cut him on the bottom right, and it results in this panel, and this is what I was talking about when I say how wild it gets with the fantasy weapons, not weapons that are fantasy, but in what they can do. We've seen this kind of thing before, where I say what we're looking at here is absolutely impossible, but it looks awesome in a manga, in a comic book. So, back to our item. Here it is when it was getting drawn, and obviously the weapon makes sense. This is the kind of thing that has existed the world over. And for obvious reasons, I have my sword hiding in plain sight, and hopefully I can get the drop on you, whether in offense or defense. But either way, because you don't know I have a sword. Well, that didn't work out too well for our little old lady, and that's putting it mildly. Now, let's talk about the item itself. Yes, this is definitely historical. Shikumiza were real, especially when swords were banned, and Japanese makers had an additional challenge that those in the West didn't. We're looking at a European antique sword cane here, and you'll notice it is rod straight. Walking sticks from anywhere in the world tend to be straight because why would you want to go to the trouble to make it curved? So in Europe and the Western world, you just make a straight sword that fits into the cane body. But the Japanese were, of course, enamored with their curved swords, whether long like the katana, or short like the wakizashi. And a side note, katana has become just a blanket term for long Japanese sword, even though it's got a more specific meaning than that. I feel like I said that in a recent video. But regardless, what if you want to make a sword stick that features a curved sword? Well, then you have to create something like this. Check out this beautiful antique. The disguise is great. I mean, it really looks like a just plain Jane walking stick. And notice it is curved, but not curved from end to end. Like we would describe the shape more as twisted, I think. It has a predominant curve in like 2/3 of it, something like that. But then it points back the other way or somewhat straightens out. And that's the extra work that I was talking about. All of that to avoid the fact that it would look pretty suspicious if your walking stick was shaped exactly like one of these. And just like with Japanese swords, the degree of curvature wasn't always the same, so the straighter the sword, like this one, the easier the modification. And here's one more. Now, as much as the Japanese loved the katana shape, would it be easier to just make a truly straight cane sword? Yes, and they did. And so those existed as well in reality, and notably in fiction, like here with the blind swordsman Zatoichi. I'm pretty sure he's always depicted with a truly straight sword. And speaking of fictional blind swordsmen with straight cane swords, you better believe we're not going to end things without mentioning the great Rutger Hauer and his movie Blind Fury. But that's it for this installment. So a truly historical weapon this time, not one based in history, but modified in kind of a fantasy slant, which is what we saw with all previous installments. Thanks.